Hello and welcome. I'm Saeed from storyplanet.net. Dive right into the essence of the most captivating books without reading them cover to cover. Whether you're on the go, at the gym, or just relaxing at home, we offer you a unique and enriching listening experience. Today, we are exploring the book Restart, a creation by Mihir Sharma. Decades ago, India appeared ready to excel in the global economy. However, current obstacles hinder its progress. Restart 2015 delves into the reasons for India's regression and proposes solutions for improvement. Before we delve into these revelations, it's interesting to note that Mihir Sharma, a Harvard-educated economist, began his career as a journalist for the Indian Express and now holds the position of opinion editor at Business Standard, a renowned Indian newspaper. With 8 key ideas to unveil, brace yourself for a deep dive into this captivating book. On storyplanet.net. To start, exploration of the economic status of the world's largest democracy. The text discusses the current stagnant state of the Indian economy and explores the reasons behind it. It delves into the factors contributing to the slowdown, such as inefficiencies in agriculture, wasted time for truck drivers, and the impact of bureaucratic processes on the economy. The summarizer aimed to uncover how India can revitalize its once promising economy. Key idea number 1. India's inadequate infrastructure is linked to cultural beliefs and greatly hinders the country's manufacturing sector. Delhi faces severe traffic jams despite inadequate infrastructure. Indian traffic congestion exists despite flyovers like the Rao-Tula Ram Road. City planners were aware of the insufficiency of the flyover prior to construction, but proceeded due to cultural perceptions of excess. Indian culture values minimalism due to historical socialist influences from figures like Gandhi. Shortages in infrastructure lead to delays which affect manufacturers' productivity. Indian trucks spend 60% of their time waiting at tax checkpoints. The inefficiencies in transport contribute to economic losses for the country. An example is cited where sending goods from Bangalore to Hyderabad via Europe can be cheaper due to traffic-related challenges. Key idea number 2, unemployment rates increasing due to unprofitable farms and lack of industrial jobs. In India, despite a large potential labor force, the unemployment rate is rising due to issues in the farming sector. Farm sizes are shrinking, leading to low wages and a lack of interest in farming. With only half the farmland available compared to 1970, farming is no longer a profitable industry. Many individuals still work in farming, but it contributes minimally to the country's GDP. Transitioning to factory jobs is challenging as many companies avoid expansion due to strict labor regulations and bribery demands from government inspectors for any violation found in larger companies. Key idea number 3. Late 1980s government spending almost caused a loan crisis. Joseph in the Old Testament interpreted Pharaoh's dream about fat cows representing years of plenty followed by famine. Similar to this story, in the late 1980s, India faced economic challenges due to overspending by Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. The country's external debt nearly tripled from 1985 to 1989, leading to a loan crisis by 1991. To address the crisis, India devalued the rupee to rebuild dollar reserves, which caused issues such as a decline in manufacturing as local producers struggled with expensive imports and competition from cheap foreign goods. Key idea number 4. Reforms impacted several sectors negatively, but certain industries thrived amid the crisis. India implemented half measures to address its economic crisis by focusing on symptoms rather than the root cause. Devaluing the currency did not boost domestic production as expected, leading to a struggle for manufacturers who couldn't competitively export or sell locally. The government's removal of international trade restrictions allowed foreign companies to take advantage of the situation. As a result, industries like finance, telecommunications, and information technology thrived post-crisis due to their adaptability, unlike traditional manufacturing sectors. Key idea number 5. The Indian government sought private sector help to construct infrastructure, but the results were disappointing. India faced infrastructure challenges that the government, in debt, couldn't address alone. Private sector involvement was sought to improve infrastructure in exchange for payment. Initially successful, private investment eventually slowed due to fear of economic losses. Extensive regulations and slow project completion deterred private sector engagement. Private companies also exploited government resources. The system ultimately proved unsustainable. Idea number 6. The text argues against concentrating all power in the private sector, emphasizing the importance of not allowing the government to solely rely on private entities for control. Having the same company manage both construction operations and the actual building in India leads to shortcuts and cost-saving measures. To prevent this, infrastructure projects should involve two separate companies, one for operations and one for construction, to ensure checks and balances. Possible solutions include having separate companies for operations and construction, hiring regulators and inspectors, or implementing internal monitoring when the government is involved in a project. To fund projects, it is suggested to involve citizens in paying for construction through the government while leaving the actual building to the private sector. Private sector involvement in funding infrastructure projects led to issues of greed, suggesting a different funding model where citizens and external finance cover a portion of the cost, with the private sector providing the rest. Key idea number 7. Natural resources should be priced correctly and not be privatized. The government needs to be cautious when working with the private sector, as granting private companies control over natural resources can endanger the well-being of the public. An example from India involving power companies. Tata and Adani highlights how private ownership of essential resources can lead to increased costs and lack of accountability. An open market system is suggested to prevent such issues and ensure fair pricing, environmental protection, and responsible resource extraction practices by private companies. Key idea number 8. Farms should focus on increasing overall productivity rather than just producing more rice and wheat. Indian farms focus on producing excess rice and wheat due to the current farming system and government intervention, even though the country does not need more food overall. The government's emphasis on providing cheap resources rather than financial support hampers farm efficiency. To improve productivity, farms need autonomy, proper infrastructure, protection from monsoons, and assistance in diversifying crops. Investment in transportation infrastructure like refrigerated trucks, storage facilities, and roads could help farms grow more efficiently. Reforming the farm industry is a gradual process that is feasible with comprehensive changes. In conclusion, India faced setbacks due to overspending and counterproductive reforms, leading to economic challenges like overregulation and insufficient infrastructure. Progress is possible through infrastructure improvements, agricultural reforms, and better government-private sector relations. Further reading recommendation, From the Ruins of Empire by Pankaj Mishra, explores Eastern responses to Western dominance over the past 2 centuries, highlighting cultural figures' impact on history. Thank you for listening to this summary. If you enjoyed this exploration, we invite you to discover other fascinating books on storyplanet.net. Don't wait any longer. A multitude of books, stories, and knowledge await you there. See you soon on storyplanet.net.